Hello, good evening, everyone. All right, so just allow me like 2 more minutes and we will soon start the class. All right, guys, so sorry about this. I would end up being the one to take the class. The mentor is having network issue, so she just sent a message now. It keep logging her out, so I'm going to take over the class in 1 minute. I'm so sorry about this. All right, I'm taking over the class right away. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
All
sir, we
right,
can.
so we're going to start right away, please.
Everyone, hi.
Hello, good
Can
evening.
anybody hear me at all?
Good evening,
Good
ma'am. I can hear
evening.
you.
I'm so sorry. My network was messy, but it's fixed now.
All right. That's good. That's good.
I would have said, okay, we should give grace for more people to join in, but I guess we'll have to start right away because we really don't have so much time. Somebody's mic is on. Please mute your mic, please. Okay, that's better. So we won't be able to wait anymore. We'll have to just begin straight away. So it's nice to have you guys back here. Um, can you guys see my face?
Yeah, we can see you now.
Okay, I hope it is clear enough. Okay, I came here today with cutlass and, hammer and every other thing. I came with violence because nobody or very few people did the assignment and submitted. So How do you guys want the violence to begin? Which way do you want it? How do you want it served? On a platter of gold or in the trenches area? Choose.
Platter of forgiveness.
The platter
Ah,
of gold because
you want on a platter of gold. Wow. Can you
Well, I
imagine?
support that because some of us were unable to join the first two classes.
Okay, and then why is that? Why
So
were you
we
unable
only
to join the first two
succeeded to
classes?
join up. Sorry?
Why were you unable to join the first two classes?
Yes. I made up for the refresher class yesterday. This is
Okay.
actually my second. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So, an exception to you, every other person. Shalom, I didn't see your assignment. I think I saw
Okay.
Ayodeji's assignment. And there's somebody else that also did
Hello.
her assignment.
Good
Yes, I can hear you, Shalom. You can speak.
Okay, so I joined the class on Saturday last weekend, but I think your network was breaking. At some point, I couldn't hear again during the class. So it was yesterday I joined the makeup class. Yesterday night, we had another class. That was where I was able to even learn. The network for Saturday was so bad. Sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, yes, I think at the start of the class, my network was so bad, but later on it really got well because everybody could actually hear me. And you even asked questions, if I can remember, when we're trying to explain A/B testing and the other type of
No,
testing that we have.
we have two shalom, so it's not just my shalom. We are two shaloms on this
Oh,
class.
my
There's
oops, my
shalom
bad.
Fidelis and there's shalom Zitochi, something, but I know there's another shalom, a lady too.
Oh, okay. That means it's not you then. Oh, okay. All right, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So I've decided not to, Joe said I should not do violence, so let me not do violence. But my next assignment, there'll be violence if nobody does the assignments. We're going to fight.
Okay,
Um,
sorry.
so I gave the assignment was let me just quickly talk about that and then we'll move ahead. It was on design thinking and I gave a particular project. So the topic was your community faces challenges in promoting health and wellness. Some residents struggle with finding affordable fitness options, mental health resources, or staying consistent. So you are supposed to use design thinking process to answer this project. So which is define the problem that it is, and then also ideate as well. And then I would say that the ones I got were still very okay. They were actually quite impressive. So I would say kudos to Joe and Ayodeji. Yes, kudos to you guys. So now let's go ahead with today's class. We'll be talking about introduction to Figma. I know that you had a session yesterday and you guys were told to practice some things, which makes it a lot more easier for today's class. Yes. So in our last class, for those that were in our last class, I didn't finish up with explaining the layers panel. That's the right one. And we're supposed to do that before we now go into like proper designing because I need you guys to like understand how the whole canvas works. So for those that were in yesterday's class, I'm sure you guys will have like a knowledge or understanding of that. And then for those that were not, well, you're here today because I would have to explain that. So let me share my screen. Sorry, guys, just a few minutes. I'm trying to. So I think the network is a bit messy. Let me share another file. Since the network is not allowing that to open up. Is it just me or the network is just generally so bad?
I think it's just you. This one is very okay.
I'm trying
I
to
think the network is very fast.
open just a Figma file and I can't even open it up. All right. Let me use another file of mine since this is not opening. All right then. Oh yes, Joe. But how sure are you there's no styling that I'm using already? You can't be so sure. I mean, you never can tell. Okay, so let's go through this first before we try to cover all of that. Um, so introduction to Figma. Looking at this outline, I already covered some of these things in the last class, but I would go through over them very briefly so that we can move over to the to Figma itself, and then so I can show you guys things properly. Understand the fundamentals of Figma and its interface. Learn how to create basic designs. I think we talked about this. Explore collaboration and sharing features, and then familiarize with shortcuts and best practices. Figma is a cloud-based design and prototyping tool for UI UX design. Example of projects made in Figma could be websites, apps, wireframes. Navigating the interface, we have the menu bar, toolbar, layers panel, properties panel, and the canvas, which is the design area. So I would show all of these on Figma itself. Basic design elements. Draw and editing shapes, rectangle, using colors and gradients, of course. Working with images. Collaboration and sharing. I think I explained this where you have to click on share and then add your colleague's email or anybody's email that you need to share the project to. Then prototyping this. Okay, I think I have not talked about this yet. Okay. So let's go into this proper. So now everybody can see my screen, right? Can anybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
okay. So I explained this area. I want to remove this design because we're not working with this today. I explained this area the last time where you can access your files. This is frames. These are for different shapes. This is a pen tool. This is for text. This is where you need to access your plugins, widgets, and the rest of it. This is a hand tool, and this is for comments. So now I would need to do something so that the properties on this panel, that's the properties panel, shows up. So you need to ensure that before you start designing, your canvas is on design. When you go to prototype, that is when you actually want to prototype whatever it is you've designed. Then, so let me bring in a frame, for example. In the last class, I mentioned to you that, so for frames, when you click on frames, we have different frames to use. We have tablet, phone, desktop, depending on whatever it is you're designing. So let's say we want to design the website, right? So we're going to use the desktop frame, which is 1440 by 1012. So this is a desktop frame. So let me give it a color, just so that it is visible. Now, you can actually change the background color of your canvas. That's this area where where it's showing white. It's not actually pure white. You can actually change it depending on how you want it, right? You can change it to whatever color it is. You can see, right? Just the way you want it. So let's leave it at F5, F5, F5. So let me quickly using the shapes to explain these properties here before we move ahead to what we're actually designing for today. Okay. So now let me start with the rectangle. Now, before I start with the rectangle, I need you to know that a frame can be inside a frame, but a frame cannot be inside a rectangle. Now, what I mean is, this is a frame, this desktop, right? Let me bring in a rectangle. So this is a rectangle. Let me give it a color. Now, so if you want to bring a frame cannot be inside a rectangle. You can see that it is here, but for design principle, it doesn't work. It will not really stay, especially when you're trying to like house a particular design that you have done, possibly to make it a session. It's not going to work. So it is always advisable to use a frame in a frame rather than a frame in a rectangle. So let me remove this. So now this is a rectangle, right? For resizing, somebody's mic is on, please mute. Okay, so now for resizing purposes, it is wrong to actually resize like this. This is wrong. Because most of the time, it is not really, it doesn't really work. And then it might, because you're resizing it this way, it could actually give off decimal points. And then from a developer's aspect, it's not even really helpful. So you don't resize like this. So you can easily press the K button on your keyboard, on your laptop, sorry, to scale. So this is how you have like the scale properties to scale whatever it is that you need to scale. Then also this, we call this radius. So let me zoom in. You call this radius. So if you don't really want to go here, so here we have, this is the size for the width and this is for the height. This is the angle. So let's say if you want it to be like a 45 or 90 angle degree, right? Then here you have for the radius, that's the corner radius for the 4 corners. So let me give it the corner radius of 20. And then you have this. You can see that the edges are curved already, right? So if you don't really want to do it this way, let me put it back to 0. You can also come here and then drag this. Can you see? As you're dragging this, you can see that the corner radius here is increasing. Now, so let's leave it this way and see, okay, let's say it's 121, right? And then let's say you want to give, now we have what we call independent corner radius. So for example, you only want one corner of it to be curved and not 4 of them, right? So this is where you go to, you click on this here, and then you see that it has different corners. This is top left corner, top right corner, then you have bottom right corner radius, and then you have bottom left corner radius. Now, so let's say, let me turn all of this to 0, right? I want only one corner of it to be curved. And then you have this. Can you see? You can see that only this. And then when you come here, you see that it's mixed. That's because you've made it in a way that just one corner of it is what is really curved. So that's about corner radius. So you see, where you see some buttons or you see that some websites actually have curved edges, this is where it is. And then maybe if you want to design cards, you just come here to give it the corner radius if you want all of them to be what? To be curved. So let's leave it at 12. So that's really that about, you go to fill to give it colors. Fill is for colors in Figma. So colors are usually given in like hex code. And then sometimes, well, as you start designing, you would start like knowing some color codes without even actually searching for them. Just type the color codes because you get to know them. For example, we know that FFF is white. We know that 0000 is black. We also know that 1B, 1C, 1E is a shade of black. We also know that F5, F5, F5 is a shade of white. So things like that. As you start designing, you get familiar with these things and then you know some color codes. And then also, you can see here that we also have stroke, we have effect, and we have export. Now for this stroke, so let's talk about this fill color. Now, if you don't really want the color to be visible anymore, you can easily just hide it without having to remove them, right? That's if you don't want the color in that particular design that you're doing. Now let's go to the next. We have line. I would come back to the stroke. Let me finish with this. So like I said here, this is where you have the angle. So if you want it completely straight, you put it on 0. When you come here now, you can see that as soon as you draw this, it comes down to stroke. Now you come here and then if you want it center inside or outside of your design, that's what it means. You can change the color of your stroke if you don't want it to be white. So let's say we want it to be black, right? And then here you can actually increase the number. Let's say that's if you want it, how thick you want your line to be. Now here you have different strokes. So you know how you design, and then you have like arrows. You can actually do like arrows. So this is where you go to change it. You can see that here you have line arrow, you have triangle arrow, you have reverse triangle, and the rest of it, you have circle arrow and then diamond. The same goes for the other side. So let's say you want two of them to have triangle arrow. This is something like, this is what you're going to have, right? So this is just how to explore the stroke version for this. And then if you don't really want it thicker, you can also still reduce it or increase it however way that you want, depending on what you're using it for in your, you can see that here I made it 30. So that's that about lines. So let's move to the next one. We have arrow, typically the same thing with line. Now we have circle, eclipse. You can also use eclipse when it comes to like shadow, like layer blurs, but let me explain. So let me draw a circle right now. And always make sure when it comes to circle, I always try to make sure that, because when you're drawing, sometimes it might not be accurate because of how it is. So I always come here to make sure that the width and the height is the same thing, right? So it is equal. Then you can actually just click here to contain the properties. That's what this thing is for. So if you know that you want to adjust the width or the height, you have to remove this and then adjust whatever it is and then close it back. So now we have circle here. You can come here to change the color however way you want. So let's say we're giving it an orange color, right? And then, so now let's explore effects. With this way, you're able to actually understand effect itself. So you are giving, you have drop shadow, you have layer blur, and then you have background blur. Now, depending on your design, let me bring in a rectangle so that I can show different variants of what I'm talking about. Okay, we've used red. What color should I use? So let me use green. So let me zoom in so you guys can see properly. Now, we're giving effect to, let's add shadows to the rectangle. So let's say we're giving a blur of 10, right? So now spread here means when you're trying to like give shadow across all of the designs. And then Y is for vertical and then X is for horizontal, which means that, for example, if you want your shadow to appear on just the vertical part, that's probably if it's positive. If you're putting a negative sign, it's going to be on the left. So now let me show you guys. So let's give X for, let's say 20. And then you can see the shadow here. Can you see it? Then let's say this should be 15. You can see, right? So it's appearing this way, and that's because why it's a positive value. If you want it to be on the left side of your design, you just have to put in a minus 20. You see that it comes here. It's not really visible. Let me change this color to white so that you guys can see it. Now, yes, this is better. Okay, so when you put in a negative sign, it goes to the left part of the design. You can see that it goes this way. So you're giving only shadows to this part of the design that you want. Now here you can actually reduce or increase the opacity of the color. This 000 is actually black. Now let me increase it to normally it's meant to be 100. So if you're giving it 100, it's going to be full color, right? But most of the time, it's always advisable to reduce it. Why? Because, I mean, that's like shadow properly. You can't really like give full color for shadow. So people often use like 25. 25 is like default shadow and this in Figma. But you can actually use 10 or 15. So let me use 10. And then you see that it's reduced depending on how you want it. So that's like the properties for this. So it's the same thing with inner shadow, right? Inner shadow is inside as well, depending on your design. It won't really show here because this is actually green, but you can actually see by the corners that there's a shadow there. The same thing applicable for background blur. Now let me explain layer blur. Now layer blur is used when you're trying to design for glassmorphism. There's something we call glassmorphism in design, right? Now let me explain. So let me duplicate this. And then remove all the properties we have here. So giving it a background blur, let me give it a background blur 15. This will not show well. Let me use white. So it means I have to change this color so that you guys can see properly what I'm doing. Okay. I'm wondering why this is not supposed to show 25. So it's not giving us the background blur that we want. Let me try for layer blur and see. So I'm going to draw an eclipse, then use layer blur. Okay, so this worked. So this layer blur is basically when you're trying to like give off, so let's say something like this, and then it looks like what you have here is actually on top of this. Let me reduce this because I think is okay. Right. So you might not really see it so clear here because this background color that I'm using is red. But I don't want to change it because if I change it to white, you won't get to see this layer blur. But layer blur, basically, people use it under like your design. So it's just more like trying to give off that, okay, this particular image or this particular card or shape is on top of it. So if you look at it, you actually think that, oh, this is actually on top of this layer blur. That's just what this is all about. So basically, that's just how to like explore for effects. And then export is basically when you want to export your finished designs in PNG, JPEG, or SVG. So that's like all of these properties. I did explain auto layout, and auto layout, I have to like start designing properly for you to understand auto layout like in its full element. Layout grid, I believe he touched grid yesterday. I think he touched grid yesterday. So for those that were in yesterday's class. So we have different grids for mobile and web. Now, how do I explain it? Let me bring in another so let's say I'm designing for a website, right? And I'm giving it this color. Okay. Now I want to add a grid. Grid really helps with alignment. That's just basically what grid helps with. It helps with alignment, basically. So I'm going to give it a column of 12 and then margin space of 100. Now it depends on how you want it. Some people give off margin space of 100 or 120, but your gutter has to remain 20, right? Every other properties remain the same. It has to be stretched, of course, because of responsiveness sake. And then this color here is the color of this. Let me change. I don't know why this, I have to keep changing these colors. Okay. So now back to this. This color here is just the color for the grids. So if you want to change the color of your grids, maybe you want something that is more visible for you, then that's fine. So that is just, this is basically layout. So whatever you are designing has to be now, whatever you are designing has to be within these grids. It cannot go outside. That means this spacing and this spacing, you cannot design anything that has to come outside of this spacing. That means all of your elements, all of your images, for example, you have an image here. It cannot pass these grids. Do you understand? So basically, grids helps you with alignment. The same thing goes with here. So this place too, it cannot go over. And then it also helps you in a way that when you present your designs, by the time you're done and then you have to present your designs, it also helps you with ensuring that both ends of your design are not like, it's not looking distorted when you present them. So it's looking very okay. So when you present, you're seeing that, okay, there's nothing is here, nothing is here, everything is okay. All of the designs are like properly aligned. So that's basically what grid does. It really helps you with your alignment and then also helps the visual hierarchy in your designs, basically because of spacing. And then in a way, this also helps developers when they're trying to like work on what you have designed at the end of the day. Then we also have grids for mobile, right? So let me bring in a frame for mobile. So let's go with iPhone 13 mini. Okay, so iPhone 13 mini, let's give it a grid. Now, you always have to ensure that before you start designing, you have to like put out your grids. This will help you. There's nothing like, oh, Agba designer or anything. No matter how long you have been designing, you need to always ensure that you have your grid because this will help you. It could be that you might say that, okay, what you're designing is not really very difficult. Maybe it's just a very simple website, right? That you know how to like cut corners. But at the end of the day, you might see that you're making a mistake, or you get to see that your text and your images are going off of your grids, which is making your alignment imbalanced, right? So it's always very important to put out your grids. So for mobile, let's go to grid, select columns, and then so we're giving it a count of 12. So for grids, it has to be a count of 4. Now, depending on how you want, there are people that actually use 60 for margin, but now it basically differs, right? But the main particular one for web design is you have to stick to mostly either 100 or 120 for your margin. Now that's really that. For auto layout, I'll have to explain that when I start designing proper. He touched your class yesterday, he touched components that I think. So let me bring in a design that we're actually going to work on today. I know that this is actually rushed, but we have a lot. Let me bring back this in case you guys will have to check on this. So there's a file I need to bring in. So let me bring in a design that we're going to work on today so that we can quickly do that. Okay. So now this is a pricing card for a website, right? It's just a cutout image. So we're going to design this, right? And then you guys will have to follow suit to actually understand. I believe with that, you guys will understand better. So now let's design the first card. Remember that this is a card, so you don't have to bring in any of these frames that you see here. Don't confuse the two. You are designing cards, right? So you don't have to bring in any of these. And the reason why I'm using frame is because you can actually, frame can actually house anywhere in the design. It's not really safe for you to use For you to use rectangle for your cards. Always use frames. If you're designing cards, anything you're designing, always use frames. But there are things you have to design that you have to use rectangle. So it just depends on what you're designing, right? So don't say because you want to design a card, you now go to frame and you're looking for where to bring out the frame here. No, it doesn't work. These are just like, this is for like when you're designing for like maybe phones, like desktop presentations, watch, and the rest of it, social media flyers and the rest of it. But aside that, if you're designing normal cards, like in designs, maybe the cards could actually house your images or it could house your content or anything. Always use what? Normal frames. It's just click on the frames and then you draw a frame. So now we already have a frame ready. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can anybody hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I need few minutes to switch my network. If you noticed, my Figma is lagging, is dragging, and it's the network that's causing these things. So I need to switch my network just shortly, few minutes.
All right.
I'm just
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can
All
hear
right.
you.
So just like she said, she's going to take out some minute out. Let me see. She said I should continue until she's back because of our network. Sorry. Yeah. So she actually sent a message to me. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. When she comes back, she can continue. Is that okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I believe you should be seeing my screen by now.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Kindly confirm what you are seeing on my screen. Is it the Figma file, right?
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yes.
All right. We are doing it right away. So she stopped at card. We are doing card. And trying to open, see if she was using. I'm wondering if she used if she was using the link or if she used a different link. I can't find it. Trying to know where she saved the file, the card rather. Okay. Can't find a card here. Okay, I think most likely I will just have to get the card where she stopped. Let me see. Okay. All right, yeah. I can't find that one. Can you guys recall if she was working on the team or she worked on a different thing? Okay. Maybe I will just it was something like this she was working on, right? Something like this place, right?
Yes. A payment. Yes.
Okay, maybe what we're
Yes.
going
Yes.
to do is that
Something like
what we're going to do is that I will just bring it here and we work on the same thing on mine. Okay. Let's work on this there. What did she do? So she touched on grid system, right? Did she touch on grid
Yes,
system?
yes, yes. She, she mentioned grades. Yes, she
She
did.
spoke about grid, right?
yeah,
Yes.
she agreed.
Yeah, and she spoke about hold on once grid. Anybody, is there anyone here that does not understand grid and you want me to touch before we go very far?
Please, I really did not get it very well. Um, Especially I saw the grid. I was trying to follow up. I think she added a particular margin at some point, but I could not get how she went about that. I've tried on my own and I could not seem make a headway.
All right. So grid is quite simple if you understand how it works. So let's say I bring in a frame to this place. Let's say I bring in a frame. We are not having any frame size in someone asked the question, what frame size? We don't really have any frame size in particular because what we're trying to achieve is to what we're trying to achieve is to just do any class for you to understand. So I really wish I can get my laptop. I'm not using my personal laptop and it's trying to understand how this screen work. I wish you guys can give me 1 minute to get my personal laptop so that I'm struggling to use this system, the one I'm using right now.
The laptop is
But
not
it's
far.
okay.
Why not?
No, it's not. Don't worry. Let me just continue. If we still have the same issue, I'll go get it. All right. So So let me explain who asked the question of grid. So once you click on a frame, can you hear me? You will see at the side of it, you will see grid layout. Now the grid layout, if you click on the grid layout, you see I've already done some stuff here. This is because I've already done some universal layout. So if you click on the grid layout, you see that all the layout will show, and it's not nice this way. So that is why you need to apply the properties. What you apply with properties is that you click on this. Check out where my cursor is. Check
Yeah,
out where my cursor is. If you see it, tell me yes so that I can continue. You see layout grid settings.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Lovely. When you
Yes.
click on this layout grid settings, it will show you grid, column, or row. Personally, so this is where preference comes in. In most times in website, people use column, which is advisable. Sometimes you can use grid, but professionally, I'll advise you use column with reason, because website, if you send to a front end designer, he works with column, not with grid, but he can still convert it to grid if he has access to your Figma, but just to reduce
Okay.
those kind of stress. So I would rather say you change it to column. If you change it to column, if it was website, change this count to 12, because website is 12 columns. Then you can do stretch, it's not bad. You can do center, it's not bad. It's still the same thing. If you use stretch, you can leave it where it is, but you will definitely have to go and adjust the width to have the margin to have something that you want. Maybe let's say 100. You understand? So this is margin. You adjust the margin to 100 or maybe 120. Let's say 120. 120 is okay. Most times it's 120 or 110. I don't know if she covers that, but most times it's 120 or 110. That 100, 120, 110 is okay for a website. But me personally, when I want to use grid, I rather prefer to change it to center. I like to do center, then I change the width to maybe 120. It's really no different. You can see there's no difference. It just depends on your preference. But stick to the 12 column. Stick to the 12 column, very important. Then once you've done that, you are good with your grid. If you don't want, you can change the color of your grid. I think she changed the color of grid that time and she showed you what to do, right? You can change the color of your grid. You can choose to hide your grid. You can choose not to. I don't want to go too far from so that we can cover a lot of things today. If you play with someone is want to ask a question. If you play with your tools, because the best way to learn is to play with these tools, then you will know how to do it. Please go ahead and ask your question on your DG.
All right. Please. While it was on columns, I changed my margin to 120, and then the whole thing became white. Like I could not see the columns again.
All right. Are you doing it right away?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Can I
Straight
see
to
your
full.
screen? Do you want to share your screen for the sake of this class? Let's learn from your screen. Let's see so we can tell you what to do and what not to do.
Let me switch. Let me switch my Zoom to my system.
Oh, you can. Okay, don't worry. Don't worry. So, because we may not be able to, can you quickly do that
Sure, sure.
because of time?
Okay, please go on, go on. Probably I will
All
have
right.
to find make up. Thank you, sir. I'm grateful,
All
sir.
right. I think our instructor is back, Sha, so we can continue, Gechi. Hello, do you want to take over now or I should continue?
Oh, okay. I'm back. I'll take over now.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. So let me just share my screen. So concerning what he was talking about, this the grid, it just depends on how best you want the whole thing to work. Some people get to use 100, some people get to use 110, some people get to use 120, right? It's just best. It's more like saying it's all the same thing applicable to when you're trying to design for mobile, right? And then some people use, okay, so let me give an instance here. So when you're trying to design for mobile, there are people that use, I always use iPhone 13 mini. Some people use iPhone 14 Plus. Some people use iPhone 13 and 14. Some go ahead to use latest iPhone 16 Plus. Do you understand? So it doesn't mean that it won't still work. It will still work for whatever you're designing for at the end of the day. So let's go back to, okay, I see we have this already in our, so let's work with this design for today. Now let me zoom in. So we have, so I would do this in the wireframe first before doing the actual high fidelity. I hope you guys can remember when we talked about design thinking, and I mentioned that we have sketches, we also have low fidelity, and we have high fidelity frames, right? So we're going to do this in low fidelity. So let's assume that now you're trying to design a pricing plan for a website, right? You have an idea how you want it to look like, but you don't really have, like, maybe you don't know how to put in your text, or you don't have your content for the website or for the pricing plan design ready. So now let's design the wireframe. So here we have, because it's a wireframe, there's not going to be any color whatsoever. Let me change my fonts. So let me use this. I use 18. So we have pricing plan. Where is this showing? I'm trying to change the text font. I'm not really a fan of Inter. Inter is like default font for Figma. So we have pricing plans, right? And then what else do we have here? Okay, we have a text here. Then we have monthly, yearly. Okay. So I'm just going to duplicate this. And just, so write whatever it is. Normally, you can actually use lorem ipsum for dummy text. So I have what I need to do. So I'm assuming that I don't have the content. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm using dummy text. So let's reduce this to 16 and then make it regular, right? Then we have monthly, then yearly, okay? Control D is duplicate. So I mean, that's why I always do that, instead of having to go back and writing the text again. So we have monthly, and then we have, now you see this red thing that shows up when you're trying to drag text. Are you seeing it, guys? This also helps with making sure that there's hierarchy in what you're designing, right? You can see that once it's here, it sees that it's in line with the other text. Can you see? So that also helps as well. So we have yearly here, and then we have monthly. So so this is where we're going to have the toggle for where they can actually switch. Right? And you know it's cornered. Let's go back so that you guys can see. You can see that it has a corner radius. It is round. It is completely round. So let's give it a corner radius and then see. 20. Is it round enough? Okay, this is 24. So this is completely round. So you do the same thing for here. I would come back and do the whole setting of the alignment, but for now, let's do. So now we have the 3 cards: standard, premium, and starter, standard, and premium. Now we're going to design this for the cards. So let me give it a feel. What else are we noticing here? The cards are cornered. Let me zoom in so you guys can see, but not completely cornered. Now, there is a design principle that if you're using a button that is cornered, every of your design has to be cornered. That is why you can see that the cards are cornered here. We have the buttons has like a corner radius. Are you seeing? Then you can also see that this one too is also, because if your buttons are going to be like straight buttons, right? There's no radius whatsoever. It means that your cards are also going to have that same distance. So that is why people always say that when it comes to product design, you have to follow principles. These are all the things that people look out, and then it makes your design really come out well. Because if you're having a cornered button and then your cards are straight, it's going to be off. There's not going to be visual hierarchy when it comes to your designs. So you need to also ensure that whatever method that you are using for your design, you have to ensure that everything is the same. So let's go back to this. Let's give it a corner radius of 12. I think that's enough because it is not so much. So we duplicate this because we have 3 cards, right? Now, I'm going to duplicate this, right? This is where I'm actually going to use auto layout and explain to you guys. Now, if you know, when you're trying to design and you're seeing that you're going to have 3 things consecutively in a row, you see that those kind of designs where you have like cards that are scrolling, right? You have cards that are scrolling. You know, when you open a mobile application, you now see where you have to scroll, or an e-commerce app or an e-commerce website, and you're scrolling, you're seeing different clothes. Maybe you click on category dresses, and you're now seeing different dresses and all that. Yes. Now, in such cases, for example, it's not only that, right? Now, for this, we're going to have to use auto layouts, right? And then also, just to ensure that everything is actually the same. But looking at this now, you can actually see that this card, right, is not going to contain space. It's going to go out of this grid because of the size, right? So let's work on it. So let me reduce it to this. Now, Control D, we're duplicating this, and then we have this. So Shift A is the short form for auto layout. So you have to hold the 2 down. Whatever it is you want to make an auto layout, hold it down and then Shift A. Can you see what I did? So you can see it says auto layout added. You come. Okay, let me go back. So let me start with these cards. You want to put this in an auto layout, right? To maintain consistency across the two, right? Now, you click on this, you hold down to shift on your laptop, right? On your system. Then you click on this as well. You can see that both are clicked already. If you come here, you see that the 2 frames are already highlighted, right? Then you Shift A. Automatically, auto layout is added. You see it here. So now let me explain these properties for you. Now, this, I don't know if you guys can see, if I can zoom this properties panel so that you guys can see properly. Let me zoom in. It's not really that visible, but we can manage this. So this we have horizontal, right? That's if you want it to be like this. If you want it vertical, it goes like this. Can you guys see? You know, there are some cards that can also be vertically, right? Vertical scrolling. But let's say we want us to be horizontal scrolling. So it's going to be like this. Now, here is the horizontal gap between the 2 items. That is this gap here. This space you have here. Right? So let's say we want it to be 24, right? Then here you have horizontal padding. Now you remember that the last class we had last week, I talked about padding space and margin space. Does anybody remember when I explained padding and margin space? Does anybody remember? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So do you guys remember when I mentioned margin and padding space?
I remember you mentioned padding and margin, but really, I still couldn't have a good grasp of it.
Okay. So now we have padding and margin space, right? Now margin space is the space between 2, right? The space between 2, it could be 2 cards, 2 items. Let me just put it that way, 2 items, which is exactly what we've done here. So I've given this a margin space of 24, which means that if I click on one of them, right? Now, I clicked on one of them to duplicate, right? Maybe I want it to be so much. If I Control D, it will maintain the same space of 24, which means this space here is also 24. If I duplicate again, it's also going to be what? 24. So now this consistency is going to be maintained across the rest of the what? Of the cards. Do you understand? So now let's go back to 2. So we have this auto layout here. Now we have the what? The horizontal padding and the vertical padding. So let's say we want spacing, right? We want spacing around all of these. That's outside of the item. That's the padding space. Horizontal spacing, let's say 24. You can see that here has increased. It means that you want spacing outside, right? We're giving a vertical spacing of 24. The same thing goes down. Can you see? Now, padding, you might not use padding space all the time, but there are cases where you also need padding space, especially when you're designing for websites and you're trying to design the Euro section of the website. You might need to like put a padding space at that point, but it is not really every time. But the most important one is what? The margin space. Because you need to ensure that there's consistency across whatever it is that you are designing. So that's that about that. So we've done the first two cards. So let's do the third one for the pricing. Now we have the two cards for pricing. So if you don't really want to use, I'm already used to, like I said, these red stuffs that show on your design, it really helps with alignment. Can you see? So most times I don't use this. Let me explain. So we have, I don't know if I explained this in property panel here, but this is for alignment. This here means alignment. This is align left. This is align horizontal center. Align right for horizontal. This is for top vertical, then vertical center, and then below bottom. So if you don't really want to do the normal one that I do, you can just click on it, come here, and then click here, and then it is aligned center of the design. Do you understand? Because if it is to the left, it will not look Ctrl-Z. If you do it to the left, it's not going to properly look okay. Can you see? Because now you're already at the edge of this grid and there's so much spacing here. Visually, you're not actually following design principle, right? So just better that you always ensure that whatever you're designing, if you're designing to the left, make sure it's on the left, is to the right, make sure it's to the right. But because we're designing pricing plant here, you can see that it is meant to be what? Center aligned. So we're going to do this what? Center aligned. Now, let me just highlight all of these. These ones are supposed to be what? Center aligned as well. Can you see? Now, that's that. It's looking, let me increase it so we can actually see. This spacing is meant to be adjusted normally. When we're doing the normal, no, so we're assuming that this is wireframes. Remember, when you're doing your wireframes, you might not really bother about your spacing. Give a spacing of 24 between two or spacing of 16 or whatever. It's just to sketch how it is in your head and how you want the design to turn out to be, right? So that's what we're doing. So we have our cards already for this. So now let's do this where we have the buttons below. Start the trial. So we're going to do the buttons. So let's say this is where we have the buttons. Remember, the button has the corner radius as well. So you can choose to maintain corner radius across all of your designs, which means that if your card corner radius is 12, then your button should be 12. It just depends on how you want it. Just ensure that there is what? Hierarchy. That's the most important thing, because it is very easy to spot the difference. It is very, very easy, because if you give so much corner radius to this, so let's say, for example, I'm giving a corner radius of 32 to this button. Let me give it another field color so that you guys will understand what I'm talking about. So we have blue. Can you see? Yes, you are following principle. Yes, the button actually has radius, but this is actually more than this, right? Some people don't really care about all of these things though, but it is just best to ensure that whatever you're designing has an hierarchy form. That's the most important thing. So let me give this a radius of 12. Then duplicate. See that we have button here. Then we have another button here. Another way that I would have done this, if I remember that there was a button here, what I would have done was what? When I'm designing the first card, I put the buttons in the card, so that when I duplicate it, everything automatically comes instead of me doing it. And that's the best way to do it, actually. So let me remove the auto layout and do everything again so that you guys can understand. So we have now we have the single card and then we have the button in it, right? You see why I said a frame can be in a frame, but a frame cannot be in a rectangle. If you come at layers panel here, you see that the frame is under this. This frame here, where you have frame 14 is the button. This is the main card frame. Can you now see? So now let's say that this is exactly, is there anything that was added here? Okay, nothing else. Every other thing is text. So there's a button here already. We have this. So let's duplicate. Don't forget, guys. Can you see? Automatically it duplicates, right? Now you click on this, click on one of the cards, hold shift, click on the other one, then shift A to give auto layout. Don't forget. So now we're giving this margin space between both of them to be what? 24. Now, because we have what 3 cards here, we need to do what? Duplicate for another card. So you double click on one and then what? Control D. Now you have this. So you need to also look for, you need to click on, let me zoom in. You need to click on this that is housing all of it. Yes, that is the auto layout itself, right? Oh, I'm used to this already. Let me go back. So I can use this and then center alignment. So you see it's horizontally center aligned already. So we have this already. Then what else? Okay, we have these testimonials here where you have, oh my God, I cannot believe I've got a brand new landing page, blah, blah, blah. So this is going to be text, but dummy text instead. So you can actually use dummy text. I'm just used to doing this already because, so let's say this is the, I don't want it to go semi-bold. Okay. Okay, so I believe I have questions. So let me be done with this, then I'll go back, come back to the questions. Let me just finish this. So for testimonials, so we have just dummy text here. We can easily duplicate and then, so let's say we have 3. You don't necessarily have to put it in an auto layout actually. I mean, except you want to. Okay, they have just 2. Let's make ours 3. So I believe we're done. So this is more like a wireframe of this, right? So you know that, okay, here, this is a wireframe. This is exactly how you've pictured your pricing plan to look like. Now, let me go back and see the questions I have. I joined the class late today, but I've understood every other thing except the auto layout. Please, what's the work of the auto layout? Okay, okay, so to do auto layout is Shift A. Now, auto layout, Dan Elichi, you're welcome. Auto layout helps with consistency in what you're designing, basically. That's what auto layout helps with. So and then from a developer standpoint, it really also helps because they're able to, so auto layout in like, when it comes to developing is like, I think Flex, they call it Flex or something. Yeah, I think using Webflow or something, they call it like Flex, right? It helps with consistency, basically. Basically, that's like the summary of auto layout. It helps with consistency. And it is Really very, very, very beautiful, because imagine where you have to design whatever it is you're designing, and then you now have to go back and start rearranging everything again one by one. But once you design one, you're able to just put them in an auto layout, and then it covers for the rest of whatever it is that you're designing, right? So it allows you to create designs that can grow. So you can set your designs to feel or to fit. I will come to that when we're designing the high fidelity, right? It's just basically, it helps you to maintain alignment. Then it also helps you to accommodate like bigger or longer text. When it comes to responsiveness, yes, auto layout really helps, right? Because, okay, now let me show you an example using these cards that we have designed so that you guys can understand what I'm talking about. I don't want to do it inside the design. So let me bring it out. I duplicated this so that I can understand the responsiveness part of it. So now you can see that this is already in an auto layout, right? Now you have this feature here where you have hot content and then fixed width. Right now it is in hot content. Normally, if you're supposed to start the first one before you put everything on auto layout, but it's usually done for like text and images, right? Now, if I'm going to design this, when I'm designing the high fidelity proper, all of those texts, I'm going to put them in an auto layout and then do it. But let's practice this. So I'm putting this in a fill container, right? Fill. So I'm putting all of this fill. That's what I mean by fill or fit, right? So the way it is now, can you see? You can see that whatever I am doing, no matter how I get to reduce it, it is still maintaining what? The spacing, right? Now, the only reason why these buttons are going out is because I did not put the button and auto layout inside the frame for the first one. Do you understand? If I did that, this button would not shift. It's going to remain the exact way it is, right? Can you see? So you can see that it helps with what? It helps to scale. It helps to fit your designs actually. So it's basically it helps with alignment, consistency in your design. That's the work of an auto layout. So Dan Elechi, is that understood? Do you understand that?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Okay. So auto layout is Shift A. Don't forget, if you're trying to do an auto layout, whatever it is that you're working on. So I mentioned something earlier that you don't actually increase, or you don't, if you want to like increase your shapes, you don't do that like this, and nobody said anything. But the reason why I did this is because why you click on K on your keyboard and it helps you to scale. So you see that this whole thing appears here and you're able to scale. You can see that the cursor is different from when it is not scalable. Can you see? So if you do this, it is wrong. You can see it's already distorted. You're spoiling everything. But when you click on scale, you're able to what? Make it scalable. I'm trying to show an example. So you have this, and then you have this. Don't forget, guys, when you duplicate, Ctrl D, and you want to make an auto layout, right? You hold this down, press your shift, then click on this. The two already automatically is what? Highlighted, as you can see on the layers panel, right? Then you click on what? Shift A. Sorry, let me go back. One was highlighted instead of the two. Okay, now you have the two highlighted. Then you click on Shift A. Automatically, there's auto layout already. Can you guys see? this 62 here now is the spacing you have in between this place. So if I reduce it to 20, it becomes smaller. Can you guys see? That's what I'm trying to explain. Oh, I did not explain this. This is now for like top alignment inside the auto layout. So if you want, this is what left alignment, that's left middle alignment. This is left top alignment. This is left bottom alignment. So if I want it middle, automatically it's in the middle. You're not going to see it now. It's when you now put it in whatever you are designing that you're going to get to see it, right? So now let's make these cards that I designed center aligned, right? That's for the auto layout itself. So it's now center aligned. Can you now see? Do you now understand? And I put it center aligned. Why? Because the whole design itself is meant to be what? Center aligned. So this here is just for alignment. This is align center up, center bottom. This is align right middle, align right top, and align right bottom. Then here we have advanced auto layout settings. That's where you need to like add strokes. Let me use this circle for an example. So we have canvas stacking. This also helps you canvas stacking, but it's showing this because it is not what is designed for. I'm just trying to explain something that we also have different other advanced functions here. But if you look at this canvas stacking here, they mostly use this canvas stacking for images, right? Where you want to have maybe profile settings for like a dashboard, and you're now seeing so many images on top of each other, right? Then you also have this. You have this one. These ones are just padded. I've already explained that earlier. There's something we call absolute padding. Then this is individual padding, right? That's when you want to have like just maybe one corner to give space to one corner, just like you have for these corners here. You know, for corner, I said once you click here, you cannot have for different corners. If you don't want to give corners for all of them, you can just choose to just give for a particular area, maybe the top left or the top right. So it's the same thing is applicable to this one, to this independent padding. That's what it means. So now we're done with the wireframe. So we're going to design it proper. That's the high fidelity. Any questions before I go ahead? Any questions before I go ahead? All right then, no questions. Okay, so we're done with the wireframes. Always remember to name your frames. Whatever you are designing, make sure to name it. You can see that all of these things are inside this frame. When you come to your layers panel, you're going to see everything you have designed underneath, right? And I'm just doing this now because it is wireframes. When I start designing the high fidelity proper, you get to see that I get to name my frame. So now let's design it proper. So when you bring in your frame, what's the next thing you do? I'm going to start asking questions now so that it doesn't look like I am just designing and then nobody's following up. When you bring in your frame, after designing your wireframes and you want to start designing for your fidelity, your high fidelity, right? When you bring in your frame, what is the next thing that you must ensure to do?
You should grid it.
If the person speaking is, okay, go ahead, don't worry, go ahead. Somebody was saying something. Go ahead.
I mean, we should grid the canvas before starting anything. I mean, yeah, grid.
Okay. So we're going to put a grid. Column grid. So let's just use 120. What's the grid here that he used? Let me see. So that I can maintain the consistency. Okay. 12, 120. So we have 12 and then we have 120. Okay. Now, when you have an inspiration, like an inspo design that you're trying to recreate, sometimes, for example, because now I need to get this color right, I'm trying to recreate this exact design, right? So what do I do? Let me bring this up here so that it's easier. Let me name it. High fidelity pricing plan. I'm doing that just so that you guys know that it's on is the low fidelity wireframe. So now the next thing we need to do is to put in our color, right? Our background color, which is light blue. And
Yeah.
now this is called picker. You see this option here? This is called picker. Like you use it to like pick design and pick color from wherever. So I can easily click on this. You can see that something comes up here, right? So I'll just come here and click on this. So automatically this color already is here. Do you guys understand? That's the way you do it most times if you're trying to recreate design. Now that's because now no matter how experienced you are, there are a lot of hex code for colors, a lot of them. There are a lot of hex code for colors. And then, so it is not possible for you to even know this code. So right now, the only way I can actually get this code is by doing what? By using my picker when it comes to fill, and then using it here so I can get the exact same color. So now when you click on this, and then you now come here, you now see the color code, ECF2F7. But how am I supposed to know this if I don't use picker? Do you guys understand? So that's the function of what? That picker color, right? So we have our background color ready. Remember, this is to hide and then reveal, right? So this, we have our
Sorry.
color ready. Go ahead.
About the grid and the margin, is it a must? We must not use something below 100 for the
Yes,
margin for desktop
yes,
website.
yes, you cannot use below 100.
What of mobile?
Mobile is different. It's not the same thing for mobile.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, mobile has its own grids.
All right,
Do you
sorry.
understand?
Can I also add something to that question? Sorry, please. Okay, is that okay?
Yes, go
All
ahead.
right. So, to respond to that question as well, yes, you must always use. Remember, you are not just designing for yourself. You have to consider the developers and the front-end designers. Because if you send your project to them and you are not organized, you make their work also not organized. So always try to be a team player when you are work designing for people because you are not just designing for yourself, you're designing for everyone. Because when you send your jobs to them, they want to see you confusing them if you don't use consistent grid. And that's why you need to stay consistent with your grid and your margin and everything.
Thank you. But
Thank
can
you.
I ask
Thank you.
something?
All right. Okay, go ahead.
There's some websites that their hero section is just full of the whole color that they will not
Mm-hmm.
use any magic.
No, they would use margin, but you cannot see the margin. You know that once we are using this grid, right? When we are done and you present this design, you don't see the grid.
Okay.
Do you know that? This grid only helps
Uh,
us and then the developer, right? Do you understand? But when you are presenting, you don't see the grid. The only thing you are going to see now is
okay.
the color. Now let me preview so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. This is always taking time. But basically, you don't get to see the grid. You don't get to see the grid. It's just, and then when you're designing, most times, you turn on the grid, you check for your alignment, you turn it off to also see how your design is coming out. Do you understand? So most of these five designs that you see, all of them use grid. But when it comes out, you don't get to the grid. The grid is only helping you as designer for alignment issues. Do you understand? Is that clear?
Yes, one.
Okay, all right. So let's go ahead. Now we have, let me turn on the grid. So we have pricing plans. That's our first text. Pricing. I'm coming now, zooming. Pricing and plans. Okay, then we have the next text, Control D. With lots of unique blocks. Let me just type this because it's not much. You can easily build a page. Without coding. Build your next landing page. Now, so we use medium. So let me reduce this to 18. This is not middle alignment. So spacing between here and here. So let's leave it at 24. So you can see, okay, so before I say that, something is wrong here. Can anybody tell me what's wrong here before I go ahead? I need to always ask so that I know that you guys are understanding what I'm saying and you guys are following. Now, something is wrong here. Tell me what exactly is wrong before we go ahead. I'm waiting.
Good evening, ma.
Good evening.
For the lower text, there's no proper line height between the two texts. It's jam-packed together. And there also has to be a margin between the lower text and the upper one. And also
I
the
didn't hear
top
you.
bar.
Your line is breaking.
Okay.
Can
Can
you
you
go
hear me
again,
now?
please? Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
while doing the wireframe, you didn't check the margin or the padding between the pricing and plan with the top bar. And the same thing with the lower text. Then the lower text, you also didn't check the line heights between the two texts, because if you don't put a line height, it's going to be too clustered and difficult to read.
Okay. Is that all?
As of now, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Something else is missing. Something else is missing. Somebody else should help me out here. Okay.
Please
Let me go
let's see
ahead.
the other where you are getting it from.
Okay. Now this is the inspo design, right? You can see this and this, and then you can see what I did here. If it's the same person that is talking that wants to say again, please don't. Let somebody else. I need somebody else to speak so that I would know that every other person is following.
Hello.
I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Like the distance between this text is a bit closer than the other website.
Okay.
This
All right.
second text.
This one, Abby, is
Yes.
closer to this. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's closer. The I don't know. Is it margin or something like? Yes, the distance between them is much than the one you wrote.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Your line was actually breaking, but I could still hear you a bit. So three things. I didn't check the pricing from here to here. That's one. Two, this color, when it comes to, there's no color balance when it comes to the two texts. Because now you want your user to pay attention to this as a subheading, right? And not this. So this is like the main text here. So this is not meant to be what? To be in medium. That's for the thickness. It's meant to be what? Regular. Now, then the third one is the spacing between this and this, right? So that's just basically things that are wrong. So now let's adjust that. We've adjusted one. So spacing from here to here. So let's make it 100. 100 is going to look a bit too much because we really don't have. Okay, so let's make it 50. Right? So that if we have our cards here, you also should be able to like speculate and imagine how it's going to look like. It could still be that I could still need to come back and adjust this, but let's go ahead. So from here to here, we're giving a spacing of 24. Okay, let's give spacing of 32. 24 will be too close. Let's see. Then we have 32 for font size. We have 18 for font size. So let's leave this at 16 and see how it looks like. Is this better? Okay. Then we need to make use of a lighter color. So I don't know color that was used here, but let's see. Because if you see, you're going to see that the color that we use for this text here is black. And there's no balance between it. So let's adjust it and see if there's going to be a balance here. So we're using the picker to pick out this. You need to always zoom in so you can actually get. So So now this is the color for that was used. Now, so we have 32 here. Here we have 50 center aligned. So you can see that it is balanced. Now we're going to put this in an auto layout because of consistency. That is why I said it is not only cards. You don't use only images. It's always advisable that all your text and every other thing must put into an auto layout, right? So let's go ahead. We have pricing plans, and then we have shift. Remember, you hold this down, shift, you click on this, right? Now both of them becomes highlighted, then do what? Shift A. Automatically, you see 32 here. Can you guys see? You now see that the spacing I gave here, the margin space, is exactly what you have here. But now, can somebody tell me why it is showing align top center? Because remember when we're designing for cards, when we're designing the wireframe for cards, let me go down. Remember that this initially, the wireframe for this card, the auto layout was actually showing for left. It was showing left before I changed to center, because why? We want the whole card design to be in the what? To be at the center. Now, let's go back to this. Why is this aligned top?
Hi, ma. Should I go ahead?
I need somebody else, please.
It's
And we have limited time. We have limited time on our hands. I need to rush up this design so that you guys can go back and recreate. And I need you guys to always respond. Please follow up. So I need somebody else to respond to this as soon as possible. Why do we have this auto layout alignment here to be aligned top center? Should I start calling names? At least that will help us know those and those that are following up.
I need to see the whole frame. It's showing how at least a part of it is hidden.
You need to see what?
The frame as a whole is hidden.
Okay, can you see now? Okay, let me go ahead. Time is not on our side. So the reason why this is aligned top center is because initially, it is already, I already aligned this whole text to be in the middle one, and then it is at the top, because now it is actually above at the top of the what of the frame. That is why it is showing aligned top, right center. So we're going to leave it this way because we don't want it at the middle. It's exactly where we want it to be. So it's going to remain like this. So now we're done with this. So next we have, now we have the month, right? Monthly and the yearly, save 25%. So let's quickly do that. So we're reducing this text to 18. 18 might be too much because it's just, so let's reduce this normally 16. So 16, Control D. Then we have for yearly, right? So let me highlight these two and then center line. Okay. Push. All right. Then we have what we have here. The toggle switch. This is called toggle switch. Then save 25%. Okay. Let's give corner radius of 20, 24. Let's see. I want to use the exact color that is used there. Save 25%. So we have this here already. So save 25%. Control D. Now, let me write this first. We have save save 25%. What else do we have? Okay, that's all. It's showing me center. It's meant to be left aligned for the text. Let me zoom in so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Now, remember that this text is blue, the regular 16. So it is blue. So let's go back and pick the color according to our inspo design, right? Yeah, so we have it already. Then the color for the cards. So then you have your toggle switch. So let's work on that. So we're done with this. Circle. So we have 100. So let me reduce it to 50. It's too big. 30. So white. I would put up the grid so that you guys can see what I am doing. What's the spacing here? This, okay. So let's give padding space of 8. Let me hide the grid now and rearrange this. So this let's give it a spacing of 8. Let's see how it is. I think 8 is okay. Then we're putting this into an auto layout as well. This is 8. So let's see. This is okay. $93, 35. Okay. So you can also decide to put everything on auto layout, by the way. So now let's put everything to an auto layout. It's just to make it really easier. So you can see that this spacing between both of them is 32. So let's give it 24 and see. So I think this is okay. 24 is okay. Now, before we join this and this together so that it is one, right? You set, normally when you do this, this is set to what? To fixed. So you put it, This is fill. This is fill. So click on this, then auto layout. And this Control Shift A. Okay, yes, you have it. So let's say 32 for spacing. This spacing looks much. Let's see. Okay, I think it looks okay. So we're going back to putting on our grids. Now we're back to designing for cards. So we're bringing in our frame. Don't know how long these cards are going to be. Now, for the cards, we have, remember that once we're able to design the first card, it's always easier for us to get the other ones, right? So let's design this first card. We have starter $19 per month. Whatever color that we need to give, right? Let me add a color to this card so that we can see what we're doing. Whatever color that we're going to give, we'll do that later. Let's just do all of the text first. So we have $19 per month. So we're giving it medium because it's a little bit thicker. Then remember that I'm using a different font, right? So it might not appear exactly the way it is. So let's make this semi-bold because it's a lot more darker. If we have to reduce it, we might likely do that as we go ahead. Okay, so we're seeing that just this and this is so let's leave it at 18, right? So we have this. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reduce just like we have it here, right? What they did here is just the size. So that's what I'm trying to do. Uh, 24 is small. So let's leave it at 32, right? Okay. So we have $19 per month. Then build monthly. Regular 18. It's meant to be smaller. Okay. Remember, we're still going to change the text colors, but for now, let's do all of the writing that we need to do. So we have lifetime update. Now, this is an icon. This icon you have here, it's an icon. Why is it showing me center? Like this text is meant to be left aligned. So I don't have to deal with alignments later. Okay. So this is this icon that symbolizes good or pass mark, or what does it symbolize again? Is an icon actually. So let's get it. So there are so many icon plugins that you can use. You can use Iconify, you can use feather icons, so many of them. So let's use feather icons and see. So this is it here. Can you guys see? So for the feather icon, this is what we have. Why am I seeing these marks on my keyboard? My laptop, okay. I'll sort that one out later. So we have this here. So let's just bring it into this. I don't think there's another icon that we need again. We might need this when we get to that point. So icons are mostly in size 24, right? 24 by 24. So we're just going to put it here, right? Time has gone. We can't really start using the picker. So let me just pick any color of green, any shade of green. So the vector itself is what we are changing. Okay. Now, let me zoom in. Can you guys see my screen? Please ignore the marks you have here. I don't know how this came about.
Yes, ma'am.
So this check icon, of course, I'm sure you guys know what I'm about to do. So I'm putting it into an auto layout, and what is Control Z? Why is it showing me this? Okay, because it's not inside. Now you always have to ensure that you are bringing your icon inside the design. You can see that this is the card, right? If you check here, you're not seeing the icon here. This is the icon, and it's not inside this card. Now it's inside, right? So let's go ahead. So Shift, Control A, align left middle, spacing of 8 is okay, right? So as long as you've done the first one, we're going to arrange all of this, don't worry. You can easily duplicate, right? We're not going to change all these things because time has gone. So let's say we have few of these. Then what else do we have? Okay, button, start free trial, no credit card needed. So I'm trying to reduce the size of the button. So I'm giving it this feel, right? Then start free trial text. Once you do the first card, it's always very easy to do the remaining. Start free trial, right? Okay. The button has a corner radius of 12. Nobody remembered. We didn't give this card a corner radius of 12. So now we've done that already. Now, because he has an icon here, this is just a fast way of designing a button. But now we can't really design this button this way again because he has an icon here. So now we're going to design the button another way, right? And this is not supposed to be medium, then 18. Now let me bring in the right arrow from further icons. Okay, this is it we have here, right? Okay. So we're bringing it here. You can also choose to use line if you want, but that one is not really, this is just better because these are like proper icons, right? So I've gotten the shade, right? I'll copy the shade and use it for this arrow as well. Now remember that when you click on the icon, you have a fill and you have a stroke. If you look at it, you're going to see vectors. Vectors are what make up icons. If you're trying to give color to your icons, don't give color to the main icon itself. You have to double click, right? Or once you click on it, you see where other color follows. Or you just come to your layers panel here. Once you expand the icon itself, you're going to see vectors, right? If you click on the vectors, you can just easily change the color. Just come here and change it because let me control this so that you guys can see. You can see what was here was black. This is the main vector itself that makes up the whole icon. If I come here now and change this color, it will cover everything. They even hid itself, they hid the white. If you open it now, it's going to be like this. Can you see? So don't make that mistake. In case you do that, you are confused. You just have to go to where you have selection colors and then change the vector itself. So we're going to paste the color that we've copied, right? And then Control what? Control Shift A, sorry. So let's give spacing of 16 between the text and the arrow. Now, this is where horizontal padding will now come in. Like I was telling you guys, that there's what you're going to be designing. You're going to need horizontal padding because we're doing a button. So let's give this 32. Sorry. Let's give this 24, then 32. Right? Then we can now add a fill. Can you see now? Button is already available. What's the color we have here? That's the color for the button that was used. Let me give it. Can you see now, guys? You can just come here and just change the corner radius. Now you have your button. But in case you want to increase, you just come to the padding space, right? And increase however way you want. Maybe you want this to be 36, right? But it's going to be too much. So let's leave it at 32. We can increase this one to, if you increase it to 30, it's going to be too big, right? Or should we leave it this way? Then you can see that it's bottom alignment. Always check these things. So we want it in the middle. So it's going to be what? Middle center alignment. So we have our button ready. I'm going to delete this and then bring this way into this place. What else is remaining? No credit card required, right? That's all. No credit card required. Please, if you have any questions for me, just hold on. Let me be done. And then once I'm done, you guys can throw in your questions before we're done for the day. It's almost 9:30 and I need to rush off this. So let's leave it at 16 for regular, right? So we're done with this. Now let's arrange everything. So everything has to be $24. Okay, let's leave it at 16, right? This build monthly, what's the spacing? Okay, spacing is not so much. So we're taking this up. So let's leave it at spacing of 16. It's not. So you can see that this red stuff also helps, right? When I move it, you see that it's not aligned. If I move it, you see that everything is aligned. So spacing here is 16. Then we have this. I'm supposed to put all of these things in an auto layout, right? So now let me delete it. So once you've done the first two, like I said, you just put them in an auto layout, right? Shift A. If you want the spacing between them to be 16, let's leave it at 16. Then once you press Ctrl D, automatically it maintains the same consistency. Ctrl D, Ctrl D, Ctrl D. So I think this is okay, right? Now everything is inside an auto layout, right? It makes it easier. Can you see? So that way I'm able to just drag. Too much. So now it's properly aligned to the left. So let's give it spacing of 40, right? Then we have this. This cannot be center aligned. It has to be in the middle. Then no credit card required. Has to be in the middle. Let me put off my grid. Okay. I need to change the colors. That's all for the first one. Now, can you see? You can see that auto layout helps everything. So everything is inside Because of how spacious this card is, we'll have to reduce this card a bit. If you want, you can put all of these things into an auto layout, but we don't have time. So let me change this thing, center line, and this thing is looking short. So let me increase the padding space here. Then no credit card, center aligned. Now we have this, right? So you can see everything is, so let me limit first card. I'm almost done. First card, right? So let me go back, put on my grid, and then duplicate. And then we have our cards. So we have this, then Control D. You can see that, when looking at it, see that there's no space for the next one. That's another thing. So let's reduce this card size. $29.29. I want to make sure that I am done with all of these things latest by 9:30. I'm highlighting all of them. So I'm trying to check spacing. $32. Okay, that's fair enough. Then this and this should be center aligned. We didn't check spacing for this no card. It's supposed to be 16. So click on the frame. So this is all we have, right, as our card. And you can actually put shadows, but we can actually do that because there's no time. So now let's duplicate. Control D. Remember, as you're duplicating, you have to duplicate one first, then make it an auto layout, both of them, before you duplicate the other one. So highlight, Shift A. Now spacing in between the two of them, let's say 32, right? Then I'll duplicate the other one. Automatically, it maintains the same thing. So this is second card. Then this is third card. So we have our first card, second card, and then third card. Then if you come here, you see that this is white. That's for this button. I hope you guys understand what I'm doing. I'm trying to do this so that it matches. So we have that. Why is our free trial not showing? Okay, I did not, so you have to come here. So I'm supposed to make you white, yes. Then we have $49 and $99, right? Okay. What else do we need to change? Standard, premium. We have standard. So you see how auto layout is really, really good because it really helps you. Imagine if you don't put all of this as an auto layout and you have to start doing them one by one, right? So this is an outline card. Okay, so we're done. What else is remaining? We need to put them center alignment, right? Now check spacing between this and this. So we're saying that our spacing between sections or spacing between different cards is going to be 50 because from here to here is 50 bar. From here to here is 50. So let's make it from here to here is going to be 50 also. So we're 1, 2. So we have 50. Now let's remove the grid. See what we have. Does it look alike?
Yes, it's a copy work. Looks
I
like
need multiple answers, please. Does it look alike?
yes, very much like
Okay. So this is what we call inspo design. When you're trying to recreate, is another form of learning. You see a design online, you just go on Figma and try to recreate the design. That's exactly what we've done. Time will not permit us to do this here, but you know, this is very simple. It's just normal text, right? Then you make the text bold, right? Then put this apostrophe you have here. Then that's all. Just put them down below. So you see that this is exactly what we have. So let's preview it and then see how it looks like. Yay! So we're done for today. So the assignment I'm going to give you guys is I would send a design later after this class, possibly today or tomorrow. I would send a design that you guys are going to replicate. But trust me, it's not going to be a website design because we've not done website, right? Hopefully there might be a short class maybe by next week where I'll have to design. I mean, if Mr. Ansi will permit to have a crash class by next week so that I can show you guys how to design like website. Just maybe a website with just an hero section, right? But once you know how to do that, you can easily do all the other ones. So I'm just going to drop a design of a random design. It could be pricing plan or just normal different cards, maybe with food images or any other image. You just look for an image, right? So if it's going to be an image, I would also drop the plugin that you're going to go to get images. Remember, once you go here on your file, you go to plugins and then you just search for the name of the plugins and then you use it, right? That's how to make use of this thing. So that's that for today. Any questions before we close ahead for today? Any questions? So we have okay, Shalom is no longer in this class because I can't see her here anymore. So since there are no questions, I believe we all understand how the Figma works. We all understand all of this, the layers panel, the properties panel. We understand auto layout. We understand how to create cards. We understand alignment. We understand the feature of auto layout as a whole. We also understand a more conventional method of creating buttons instead of the normal way. Even if you don't have buttons with icon, it's just a normal text with a button. It's better you do this method. It also helps, right? We also understand grid system, how to apply grids when designing. We also understand stroke, effect. And then if you're trying to, when you're done with your design and you want to export, yes, before we close off for today, it's already 9:30. I'm so happy that I beat the time. So you just click on export here. And then, so we have PNG, we have JPG, we have SVG and PDF, right? It's not a document. So we usually use PNG, right? So here is just how clear you actually want it. So it's always advisable to use, it's not really advisable, it depends on what you want. Let me not say it's advisable, but it's always good to use from 2 above. It makes it very, very clear when you're exporting. It makes it come out well. So let me use 3x, right? And then export. So I'm exporting this into my system and I'll drop the image on the group. So that's that for today's class. I believe we understand everything that is being taught here today. I know that we really had to rush over all of these things. And so if Mr. Anse will permit us for next class, I would design website hero section for you guys and then quickly explain FigJam. I'm sure you guys remember that I said I was supposed to explain FigJam just to explain how it works, right? To you guys. So that's all about today's class. I'll see you guys in my next class.
All right, guys.
Bye.
All right, guys. So before we close, tomorrow, a new mentor is taking us tomorrow on design. Is it responsive design or one of those stuff? Yeah, but it's going to be strictly design, and it will be so. Of course, she would teach and break down, but so you'll be seeing a new mentor taking us, and maybe I don't know when next. I think when next are you taking Okay, I think it's in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right? We have two
Yes,
mentors that have not taught here.
I
Mm,
think 3 weeks from now or so.
yeah, yeah. So we still have a lot of things to cover. I'll also, what I'm trying to do is I'll be trying to cover some crash courses in between weeks when, if time permits, just a little catch up course with you guys. I don't know when we are going to do for next week. If I cannot, like okay, say she may take, but if I'm available, I can so that we can meet up with time. Ideally, we have a whole lot of stuff to cover, and we don't want to just come in and tell you do this. We want to see that you are good at what you're doing. That's why we are trying to cover up other courses, other things. But believe me that at the end of this course, before we get to the week 5, all of you would know what you are doing. I can assure you that one. I can assure you that one. All of you, as long as you practice at home, you will know what you're doing. But so tomorrow, guys, you're going to see Sumto. Sumto will take the class tomorrow. Sumto is experienced UI UX designer as well, and she will be doing an amazing job. I believe I'll be waiting for your feedback. Also, guys, I love the guys that gave their feedback yesterday. It really helped us. So we work on those feedbacks, and some of them were encouraging. Feel free to also drop your feedback if you have anything. There's a form. Feel free to drop your feedback so that we can develop and know how to more like work on ourselves and also know where you guys feel we should work on. Okay. So guys, thank you so very much. There's a possibility we may have a class on Tuesday, just a crash course. It's not compulsory. You don't have to join. It's not that we are going to do anything new. For those maybe that may just want to, just like in Uge say, if time permits us, if it doesn't, it's not don't hold us if we cannot do it, but if we can, we will. Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday before the next class, depending on what feedbacks we get from the students. So guys, see you guys tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be online. If I'm available tomorrow, I'll join. If I'm not, just know that you are in the right hand. Rosaline, you just joined. Well done, ma.
Oh, sorry. Good evening. I finished late. Good evening. I just had
All
time.
right.
Good evening. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Guys, I'll come on your DM, Rosaline. Let me catch up with you on something. So guys, should you ever need anything, feel free to chat the mentor, drop on the community. Feel free to chat me. Oge is open to respond if you ever need anything and you feel, but I will advise you use the community, except which there's really nothing should be except. I mean, there's no question that is bad. Ask anything, no matter how that you feel it's in doesn't make sense. Feel free to ask the question on the group. We will answer you, please. I mean, I know by the time you begin to do more of design, you see people dropping. I know how they will intimidate you. It's a normal thing in the community, but I know when you guys will get to that point in the next 2-3 weeks, when you guys get to that point that you are working on your project and doing all this stuff, you really appreciate asking questions on the group. Okay, guys, take care. Do have a wonderful day. Benjamin, Tobe, Emmanuel, excellent. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Nice.